Hey everyone, so this video will be about showing you how I created this game, this first-person shooter with Coplay on the right-hand side over here. So one thing you might not be able to hear is the audio. It's got full sound effects, but anyway, I'll take you through all of that as we go through here. So let me just stop this game, exit. It's also got a little menu. Um, Most of the stuff you want to see inside a normal FPS shooter. Cool, so let me stop that and go over to my pre-recorded video. So this basically what I'll be doing in this video is go over the entire process that I used to create that game I just showed you. It'll be a bit of a longer video. A couple of things I want to say up front. One, it took a lot longer than I expected. This was all created with Gemini 3 mainly. There was one part, maybe two parts, where I got stuck, or Gemini 3 got stuck, and I tried some other models to get out of the hole. And I think it worked. I'll get to it when we get there. Then also, this is by no means the recommended way of creating games. I think there's much better ways to do it, but I sort of just left Coplay on YOLO on the side while I did my other stuff, while I did my real work, while the game was busy being created. So it's not perfect. The way it's created the game is also probably not very clean. But for anyone who's never created a game in Unity, I think this could help you. It's definitely done some things during this session that I don't know how to do, and we'll come across those as I go through this video. So I've sped up a lot of this, and I will speed it up just so we don't waste too much time here. But let's go. So the first thing, let me actually just fast forward this prompt typing and move this down here as well so it's not in our way. Okay, but what you can see here is essentially, let me pause there. I've imported this Unity template scene that you've seen at the start of the video. It's called the Oasis scene or something like that. Then also I bought this Aquila FPS asset pack on the Unity asset store and just drag and drop that into my Unity project here. And basically what I'm doing here is I've opened up Coplay and I'm asking it, please make a cool flashy FPS shooter game for the scene that I have open, so it knows what scene I have open. I don't want it to create any 3D assets. Coplay can do that, but I don't want it to do that. And also the sound effects and particle effects, all of those should actually be in this project. I expect this FPS asset pack to have some of those. I didn't actually check, but I assumed as much. And basically told it like if it's not sufficient, just ask me about it when we get to the end. The game should be single player against bots. I don't want to complicate this with multiplayer. And then if it wasn't obvious, I just told it we want to use WASD and the mouse to shoot like a normal FPS. So let's see what else I did. Oh yeah, because this is mainly just for a quick marketing demo, I wanted the gun to switch every 10 seconds. So I asked it to do that as well. And make the game for me. The one other thing that I've seen work well before with prompts here is essentially this last bit. So we're asking the model to, I'll let it go back to this other view. Oh, sorry, that was a bit fast. Essentially, what the model should be doing is it can enter play mode inside Unity, check what it's created, use screenshots, use tools to step through the game, and then double check that its work is complete. Because sometimes the model hallucinates to think it's done what it should be, or the scripts might be correct, but actually in play mode, things work differently. So I've seen this last sentence to work fairly well, where you just ask it, hey, enter play mode and check your work. Cool, go. And essentially here, Coplay does, I'm just going to speed through a lot of this, but it'll read through all the different files to get the right context, to figure out what's actually in the scene. There I just had to change a setting to increase the number of actions it can take without me interfering. And then it goes ahead and writes a bunch of scripts, does a lot of stuff. I didn't actually pay attention while I was doing this. I was busy doing other work. This is all just on sort of audio execute mode. And this is the first point where I think it stopped and I checked the work. So yeah, you can see its result here. I hit play, and then this is what the result was when I hit play. So nothing crazy. Let's see what I typed in here. Essentially, there's also a bunch of errors in the console. So, okay, so if we look in the scene view, I could see there's a bunch of bots. There's a player supposedly here in the middle, and they're all pink, but nothing's sort of working yet. So I'll prompt the model next to just take us to the next step. Okay, so I tell the model, hey, all the humanoids are pink, which is a sign that the references are null. The model should know either of those, really. And then when I start the game, my camera seems to be under something. So I wasn't actually sure where the camera was here. I just thought it's inside something. I think eventually I figured out I was wrong. There was actually some overlay on the camera, but I tried, yeah, just sort of, again, a random prompt here in between doing other stuff. And you can see in the bottom right here, I'm using Gemini 3, if you want to track the model I'm using. That's the context. Also, we're giving away Gemini for free until the end of the year, so that's why you see it costing 0 every time. And again, yeah, here the model goes ahead, does some stuff. Again, via scripting, via tool calling to figure this thing out. And let me go ahead and speed it up for us. I think I tested it there and something happened. Here it takes a screenshot. Oh, this is interesting. So this is the model. You can see it turning play mode on and off, testing things itself. So here it says it's finished. And now I go back in to test it. Okay, so this is me testing. And again, you can see I'm sort of falling, which looks weird. And I could also see some errors here. And here I wanted to inspect, okay, cool. So I had a look at, if I'm in play mode, what actually happens in scene view. And you can see here, all of the humanoids and the player are spawned way too high in the scene. And you can also see the UI doing something strange on the left here. Anyway, I saw that, I took a screenshot of it. And here I'm telling the model, it looks like all the bots are spawned way too high and fall and die. So there I stop play mode. There's also a lot of errors in play mode. And I tell it to look at the logs. I ignored the UI thing because I didn't want to confuse the model yet. So I wanted to keep it specific to just the problems I see. And then later on, I would get back to UI things. Again, here's the model busy entering play mode, testing some stuff. So that's the model actually playing and shooting bullets. That's not me doing anything. Again, doing the same here. So the model just carries on doing a lot of stuff for us. Let me speed up a bit. I must say I was a bit disappointed here. Usually when I do things like this, it figures it out a bit quicker, but here it took quite a while. That's another thing I want to say about this video. I did say this at the start, but it did take a lot longer than expected. Okay. And here, actually, the model just had an error. I was busy developing Coplay while this happened, and actually there was some overload on backend that happened here. Anyway, so I just started a new thread because I could see the model wasn't really getting anywhere. And let's see what I prompted next time. Okay. Okay, here what I decided to do was, because there's so many console logs, I just hit the copy logs button here and put it into the chat. This is also a button from Coplay, this copy logs. It should help users a lot with just like one-click copy. If you can see here that I hid all the warnings because there's over 1,000. So I hid the warnings, hit copy logs, which only gets the errors, and then I put it in here for the model to start fixing. So now it's running with that. Again, Gemini 3 does a bunch of things. Here you can see the screenshot issue wasn't ideal. It took screenshots of the scene, not in play mode, when it didn't change anything. So that was another disappointing thing I saw with Gemini. It didn't have sort of the logic or reasoning to know that it doesn't need to take a screenshot in those cases, but it still did, which was strange. Anyway, this is me testing it. So you can see a bunch of errors here still, even though the model thinks it fixed them. So now I'm doing this again. And I'm again telling it to enter play mode and stop to check, because if it runs play mode, checks the logs, it can actually see the logs and try and fix them. So I'm trying to convince the model to go into that, going into a bit of prompting hell here. And we run that, the model carries on for a bit. Yeah, here's an interesting example. So here I stopped the auto approve mode, which you can see down here. unchecked it, and the model tried to do a screenshot, but I was like, hey, actually you don't need to take a screenshot here because all of the changes you've done didn't actually change the scene, so you're not going to see anything different. And when we do this for the tool call and you hit enter, you actually cancel this tool call and give it a reason of why you canceled it. Here, I had a typo, but I wanted to tell it that the logs it's looking at is are old logs, and basically to generate new logs, it needs to enter play mode first. And there it goes. So I cancel that function, bring this back down here, and it's running again, trying to fix some stuff. Okay, so what it actually had done there is it did fix it. I tested it in play mode and the errors were gone. And then I moved on to the next thing, which is the players were spawning way too high. This is the issue we saw before where players were just spawning way too high above the map and falling down to death. So I asked it, hey, let them spawn in cool spots. I keep saying just cool, but the bot should spawn somewhere cool on the ground. And yeah, let's see how it does it. Again, it runs all of the commands to get the right context, to figure out where things are. But again, actually here it was interesting, we're not falling, but my screen still looks very weird in play mode. So initially I didn't get to the bottom of the right issue, but I did check, so yeah, you can see me here checking the scene view to see where the bots are at playtime. And I did find that they were actually, yeah, on the ground, somewhere reasonable. So it wasn't that, it was actually the camera that was an issue. So, and you can see here things are working pretty nicely. We've got the guns now, we've got reloading, we've got gun switching, and that was all just from fixing those bugs from before that I had no idea what the bugs were about. But anyway, we carry on here and let's see what the next prompt is. Okay. When I play, I don't see the map that I see in edit mode. So yeah, in play mode, I don't see what I see in edit mode. I don't know where I am, but the regs looks good. So very vague prompting. The more specific you can be, the better. Okay, here I'll actually pause as well. Okay, so one, the more specific you can be with the prompts, the better. So the more skilled you are, the better you'll do for sure. I was not spending any effort on trying to figure out what's wrong here. I was just trying to YOLO it with the model. But here on the right, you can see another place where I was disappointed with Gemini. It would go into these loops of like calling, basically get info for this name text, then overlay camera, then main camera, then overlay camera again, then main camera again, then overlay. So it like sort of got into a death loop and just would continue doing this forever. And I had to stop it to actually not do that and just say like, hey, carry on with something else. I think I do that in a second year. Yeah, there I stop it. You should have all the info you need. I basically tell it just don't try and get more info. Here we go. And okay, yeah. Here I actually went ahead and copy pasted both images that I could see. So one was in play mode, one was in edit mode. Let's see it now. There's the play mode one. And basically it's telling it like being more specific, like I don't see the tent. I just, even though I'm rotated towards it, I only see the skybox. And here we go. Okay, so here it said it did fix it, but it didn't actually. So again, I'm just telling the model, hey, you didn't fix it, carry on, try again. Again, this is the model switching in and out. One issue I did notice is that the screenshots it sometimes takes aren't actually of the game in play mode, it's actually of the scene view. So that's pretty useless, and that's something we'll fix in the future. But just being like cognizant of that, because it does mean that if you have screenshots enabled, it might not always be accurate information. Okay, here I actually switched models. You can't see it here. Oh no, wait, it's not switched yet. Okay, so we're still on Gemini 3. Just correcting basically, or trying to tell the model, hey, I don't see the right stuff when I'm in play mode. Okay, here you can see I switched to Claude 4.5 because I'm just getting frustrated with Gemini not figuring it out, and I didn't want to spend the time. And so here I re-explain the problem to Claude 4.5. So basically saying when my player is facing exactly where the tent should be in play mode, I cannot see it. Also couldn't see anything else like the trees, bushes, terrain. So I'm just saying the location orientation is not the issue. It seems to be some setting or some rendering detail that is invisible to me. I actually did ask one of the models if it's a layer setting. Yeah, Claude usually comes back very confident with a lot of its answers. Although there again, didn't see anything fixed, even though Claude did switch back and forth with play mode. Still have the same issue. Still with Claude 4.5. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so that was, it's either Claude 4.5 or Codex. I can't remember which one actually solved it, but here you can see that now I can see something at least, but it's still not great. And the shooting does work. I have to say here that sound effects, everything's on. It's pretty good just for a start. I think a lot of that comes from the template, but also the model helped me figure out the bugs to make it all work. And yeah, now let's say, yeah, okay, actually that was still 4.5 sonnet, so not Codex. Now there's this mask on the bottom half that I'm again not sure what it is. Again, I figured out eventually what it was, but here I'm asking the model, hey, try and fix that. It did some attempt. I guess one recommendation for people doing this in the future, I'm just telling the model again, it's not fixed. And you can see here, actually, this is the cost of Claude 4.5. It's the most expensive good model there is. The others are all cheaper. But yeah, it ran for a bit, tried to fix some things. So one thing I'll recommend here is when you playtest, playtest a bit broader than what I did here. If I had basically turned around earlier in my testing, I would have seen that this mask you see here is just a lot of fog that's lit by the sun in the wrong way here. And if you turn around, you can actually see a lot more. And that would have given me the clue to actually look for fogs or something similar in the scene earlier on. But anyway, then I went ahead and bashed my head against a lot of prompt hell. Here we go, more model trying to fix stuff, saying it's fixed it, didn't fix it. Yeah, there's something that I reapplied here, wanted it to change. Here I try Gemini Pro again. Sorry, Gemini 3. Gemini 3 also didn't work here eventually. Yep, still half of the screen is weird. Here I actually try Codex. Codex also didn't solve it. Same problem, just trying to get that. But here, this is the point where I actually see, oh, it's not some mask or anything. It's just a very thick fog. And you can see here on the left top, there's an Oasis fog that's actually set inside the scene. I did at some point just manually try and briefly delete this, but what happens is it's also spawned at runtime. So that's where I got the models to help. So here, I first asked the model, hey, there seems to be some fog, help me fix this, because I hadn't spotted this fog yet. And it didn't fix it, basically. But yeah, it thought it deleted something, but it didn't. Then switch to a smarter model, try it again. I believe that also didn't fix it. Let's see. Yeah, this one also did not fix it. But then when I was slightly more specific, so yeah, here I was like, I had tried to delete the fog, but it kept bringing it back. So I asked the model to figure out what's causing this and just remove it from my scene. I don't need the fog. And there it did it. Cool. So that was Gemini 3 with a very specific prompt that got us to the answer. And here you can see the bots following me, and a lot of stuff is still weird, but yeah, shooting works, bot thing works. Cool. So then moving on to the next few tasks. Yeah, this was an interesting one. So here, I actually had to ask the model to, because I wasn't sure. So typically when you have spawning locations, it can happen inside scripts, it can happen with transforms that you set inside the scene. There's so many different ways in which you can set the location of where something spawns. So I wasn't sure, and I hate looking for that sort of stuff. So here I just asked the model. This is also an example of having like not clean code or not a clean game project, but asked the model here like, hey, what do I change if I want to change the spawn location? And it basically told me like, look at the player, which I then did. But then the transform of the player is all the way up here in the middle of nowhere, with the camera being all the way down there in the scene. So I tried to mess around with it a bit manually to see if I could get the two transforms to basically align. Couldn't figure it out because I hate doing that stuff anyway. And then fast forward a bit, I just told the model like, hey, this is actually a nice example. Like I clicked on this teleporter block, and if you click on something, Coplay is immediately aware of what that is, what you have selected. So I said, hey, there seems to be some offset with my spawning location. Just fast forward here. Player in the camera, can you modify the initial spawn location to be on top of the current selected teleporter platform? So I felt that was a pretty cool prompt. Specific enough, shows the error, makes the model aware of it. And yeah, spoiler alert, it worked one shot really well and got my player to work there. So let me just fast forward until we get the answer. Oh. Okay, actually, I don't know if I double checked that in play mode, but there's the next prompt I then did was to spawn you can see it here if I pause. The bots all spawn right next to me, which I didn't want. I want them to spawn somewhere else on the map, and then I can walk towards them. I wanted them to animate, which never actually worked, so you can ignore that one. And I want them to shoot at me when they see me. And yeah, here again, model made some changes. Again, spawning locations can be fairly complex or involved if you have multiple things, because you don't know what scripts are touching which parts. Again, example of bad code and dirty project. But yeah, here we have this, and I didn't find any of the bots. I think they ran behind me. If I'm going to turn around soon. Okay, they weren't there. Anyway, oh, here they are. I went again into scene view to see just what's happening from the other side. And there they were. So something was amiss, but shooting was still working. Cool. So I just reprompted the model. Oh, again, another example of something more specific. I selected the tent and asked the model to have the bots spawn around this tent. And again, just telling it, hey, I'm not hearing or seeing it. So I guess one thing to note here is whenever I prompt a model, I try to keep the number of problems it has to solve fairly limited. So in this case, just two, like the spawning location and the bots not shooting at me. And basically in that way, limiting the number of things models to try and fix every time, just so there's higher chance of success. Okay, so that worked. Models, they spawn at the right location. Then something that was wrong is they started running at me too soon, and they should only do it when they can see me. I still didn't see the shooting, and also when they die, they should respawn. So again, just prompting Gemini 3 here to run all that for us. And this looked better, so I could see that as I get closer, they start following me, but when I'm far away, they don't react yet. But again, no shooting from their side, but at least we're making some progress. And guns and everything still works cool, so happy with that. And then, let me see what else I did here. Okay, wanted more bots. They weren't animating when they were running to me, and they weren't shooting at me, or I couldn't hear it. So yeah, just did that again. Again, the animation never ended up working, so I abandoned that at some point. Coplay goes ahead and does some stuff. Still an issue. No real fixes yet. But here, one thing I did in the meantime was look at the arm setup, because I could see it's pretty weird. You can see like it's got 4 arms. and the gun's not in the right position. Again, the model had set all this up, so I hadn't touched it yet. So I was just looking through the actual like scene hierarchy here to see what the different things are and what's connected to what. Kiro is trying to get the model to replace these static arms. Show you in a sec when the bottom gets. Did I actually go? So the static arms it has on the side here, I wanted to let's just remove those and put these ones that are holding the gun on the bot. The model tried some stuff, but it was really not very successful at all. So then what I did was I just restored the checkpoint. So Coplay has this automatic checkpointing system that saves the state for you. Just restored it back to where it was because I wasn't happy with that change. And yeah, we got back to what we had before. Okay. So here, this is also another sort of useful trick. I couldn't figure out in the scene setup where the bots were that I had to change. Like, are there prefabs or something for the bots that are spawning? Couldn't figure that out. Didn't want to go into scripts. Didn't want to double click into everything that you normally would have to do. And so I literally just asked the model like, hey, where can I go change this? Where can I change the models, the bots that are spawning? And again, it read some stuff, figured it out, and then told me in that message where I have to go. So here I actually found it, opened the bot, and here we go. This is the bot. So here you can see the things that's happening. Then after, what I wanted to do here is just delete the arms. I did try that, but didn't look too great. So I'll show you now. Yeah, that's an example of it. This is me doing just a bunch of manual work. I didn't want to stress test the model with this, but you'll see actually the model comes to my rescue in a bit. So I tried that, that didn't work. And the assault rifle is here. Also didn't really know how to make that work. So what I did instead was, for that component we had just looked at, said instead of spawning the bot and the rifle, the arms thing separately, put them into one prefab so that I can edit those easily in the visual mode. And then basically whatever I edit in that visual mode for that prefab would get spawned into the scene. So it would just make my editing life a lot easier for making sure those arms are connected in the right way. And again, model goes and does some stuff here. And yeah, actually with that change that it did, you can now see the shooting and hear the shooting. It's not shooting in the right direction, but that actually fixed something else while I was at it, which was cool. And let's carry on. But now there's also a bunch of errors. So just went ahead and copy pasted those errors into the chat, told Gemini 3 to fix it. It fixed it for us. There's some more, kept fixing it. I actually wonder, I didn't test this enough, but I didn't tell it to continue until there were no more errors. I could have done that. I could have said enter play mode and continue fixing things until play mode has no more errors. Okay, but anyway, so this is the prefab it created. So now you can see both the arms or four arms in the same object, which makes it a lot easier to edit. So you'll see me edit it here manually, tweak things around. Again, like wasn't exactly sure. You could probably edit all of this in scripts, but again, I didn't know where to figure it out, and this just made it a bit easier. Although maybe not that easy. Pros will definitely lambast me, give me a hard time for what I'm saying here. Anyway, so the idea was let's delete the static arms and put on these new rifle arms. Not a smart idea, but we'll get to that in a second. I did a bunch of this manually. Let me see here. At some point, the model again comes to my rescue. Okay, so here, trying to figure out what went wrong and good. Yes. Okay. So now the bots are firing. They held the gun correctly. So to make things slightly more realistic, I wanted it to do a sort of burst fire technique. And again, more bots. And the bots also kept firing even though they were dead. So I asked it to fix all those things. It did the burst fire easily enough. The bots still fired when they were dead, I believe. I'll see in the next prompt. But yeah, things were looking good. not bad. Still switch guns, do all the things I wanted to do. Here it did a weird thing where it actually duplicated the bot that's just the scene test bot, not the actual number that's in playtime. So just telling it like, hey, look at them in playtime at play mode, see how they're spawned. We still have this issue where they're firing when they're dead. And then I wanted to edit the burst mode max time a bit. It was still a bit too long of a fire session for each bot. And Coplay went and did some changes. And here it started looking quite good. So the right frequency of shooting, they're coming towards me when I get closer. Yeah, this looked fairly good. Okay, settings still worked, or at least the UI worked. I didn't actually test the logic. Okay, and so what's next? Yeah, now one of the remaining things was for the video I quickly wanted to shoot, I wanted to control the guns I had in my hand just to rapidly switch through them. So instead of doing the random change every 10 seconds, I wanted the wheel to spin them. Eventually, also the numbers worked by itself. I don't know if the model did that or the if the asset did that itself. But anyway, here I had more control over what gun I was busy using. And it had reload animations and everything built in. This again was probably from the asset store. Cool. Wanted to start with a sniper. Asked the model to change that. It did so. Cool. So I started with a sniper. Okay. Now, another thing I spotted was that while I'm running through the scene, I could see the other bot's arms through some of the objects. So if they're standing on the other side of the tent, I could see their arms on the other side of the tent. And also sometimes the bots were spawned like halfway into the ground. So this is just me, again, prompting the model to try and fix that. I don't think it actually did a good job here. Yeah, so what it did was it completely removed, you can see the bots don't have arms. It completely removed the arms from the bots and kept I don't know if you can actually hear those sounds, but I can. And kept the guns in there, but not the arms. So I went back and changed how we did the bot a bit. So here we have that prefab that the model had created before for the bot and the gun, but it also removed the arms that we had last time. So my first attempt was like, hey, I want to. I said I accidentally removed those static arms. I want to bring them back. So I just added this new prefab to context and the old bot one to context. You'll see it here. And hope that the model could actually just transfer the arms from the old one to the new one. But I was slightly inspecific with my prompt, and what it ended up doing was just replacing the entire bot, which also removed the gun. So that was not great. So I just undid all of that work, again with the checkpointing system. So what I did instead, again, some manual work, I made a prefab of the left shoulder and the right shoulder, just drag and drop it into you'll see into the project structure down here, and then drag those same prefabs back into this new prefab, put it under the left and right arm. But here, I didn't know why the arms aren't showing up. So they're in the hierarchy, but they're not there. Again, this is noob Unity moment, and Coplay came to the help. So I asked it, why is the upper left arm not visible in this prefab? And it gave a pretty good answer, or at least it found a pretty cool answer. So it wrote a script to check the skin mesh bones to figure out what's happening. And that sort of gave me a clue of what's happening, but you'll see now. So basically then it fixed the skin mesh bones just to put them all in the list. All of the game objects here in the list of the skin mesh. And yeah, that showed it up. So then I added the right arm as well and just said do the same thing with the right arm and fix it. So it made it visible. So that helped me quite a lot. And this is busy fixing the right arm. Cool. Now the arms were, yeah, this took a lot longer than I hoped. This was a lot of the manual work. I had to now position the arms properly to actually hold the gun correctly. And there are definitely other ways of doing this, a lot of other ways. I didn't want to stress test the model with this specifically, but I'm sure you can. You can add some transforms to the gun. Maybe, I don't know, I'd probably just ask the model how to do it, how you can make it hold the gun properly and dynamically at playtime. Because as you'll see now, even though I went through all this work to manually configure and set up how the arm should look, I still ended up having to fix it. So we go through all that manual work, and now you can see the arms, even though I did the manual work, arms are still just by the sides. And that's because at runtime, they go to the neutral position. And I told the model this. Playtime, the bot's hands drop to the sides. And then I say, just as a stopgap, can we basically keep the arms in the positions they are at the start, when they're basically in the position they're in now at the prefab. And again, model did some stuff, wrote some scripts, and made all of this happen. So now the arms are looking correct. And when I kill them, the arms did some weird dangling stuff. So you can see arms all over the place. And again, just went to the model, said, hey, that works, but the arms are detached and dangling in the air when they get killed. Again, as a stopgap, let's make the arms just disappear as a short-term solution when the bot gets killed. And now that worked. So cool. You can kill the bots and the arms don't dangle, but the arms sort of disappear slightly too early. Anyway, that was the last bit of the thing I wanted to do, and that was the whole process of getting to the game that looks like this. So running, shooting, and you've got all the right. Oh, that was double shot kill. And you've got the reload mechanics. All right. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, not necessarily the most elegant way of creating a game, but definitely some things that it helped me learn or figure out that I wouldn't have been able to do without it in a reasonable amount of time. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. We are handing out free Gemini 3 usage until the end of the year, so until the start of 2026. So swing on by and come try out Coplay. And yeah, thanks a bunch for watching the video. Have a nice day.